I want to talk to you about Warren Buffett's 5-step process for prioritizing true success. Warren Buffett, I've been told, is like the 4th wealthiest man in the world. I believe he's worth like $53.5 billion, something like that, give or take a few billion. But he had this process that I thought was pretty important. So I want to share the top 5 with you. Number 1, he said, know what you want. And he also said, list your top 25. That's step number 1, know what you want. In fact, the story that I was reading said that a few years ago, Warren went up to his pilot and he said, Steve, the fact that you're still working for me tells me I'm not doing my job. He said, are you going after your dreams and goals? Then he began to ask him, he said, I want you to tell me what your top 25 things are that you want to accomplish this year or in a few years to come. Just start writing your top 25. Now, let me just stop right there for a minute before we go through the next 4. Do you know that that's where most people stop in the dream and goal setting process? They don't know what they want. You have to decide what you want. You know, I've heard where Mark Twain said, I can teach anybody how to get what they want in life. Problem is, I can't find anybody who can tell me what they truly want. So you have to identify what is it that you want. And let me just tell you real quick, when you're setting goals for yourself, ask yourself these 2 questions. How much and by when? You say you want to save money. How much by when? You want to lose weight? How much by when? So, in other words, know what you want. List your top 25 things. Number 2, he told his pilot, Steve, he said, pick your top 5. Pick your top 5. He said, I want you to circle 5 of the most important things out of that list of 25 that are the most significant to you that you've got to accomplish. Now, that was hard for him at first because he said they're all important. He said, no, circle your top 5. Well, I also want to point out the significance of writing your dreams and goals. You know, they say success begins with a pen and paper, that all successful people think on paper. In fact, Brian Tracy said this, 2 points. He said, if you can't write it clearly on paper, you're probably not clear yourself. Number 2, he said, something miraculous happens between the head and the hand. It's as if you've programmed your subconscious mind to go after your dreams. So I want you to think about your top 5 and write them down. And don't be intimidated. Don't be afraid to write big dreams and goals. I love what Joyce Meyer says. I'd rather ask God for everything and get 50% than ask for nothing and get 100%. So write whatever it is. And remember, if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. So write something. Number 3, he says, make your top 5 plan. In other words, you always have to determine when you're going to go after your dreams. You know, procrastination is a dream thief. In fact, listen to this. The University of Calgary found that 95% of us procrastinate at some point. 20% of the world population are chronic procrastinators. Here's some other proof about procrastination or procrastinators. It says they're less wealthy, less healthy, and less happy than those who don't delay. So when you set a goal, always determine when you're going to go after that goal. You've heard me say how Jimmy Lyons said, tomorrow is the only day in the year that appeals to a lazy man. So you have to designate when you're going to go after those dreams and goals. Number 4, Warren Buffett said, marry your priorities. In fact, he asked his pilot, he said, as you're going after these dreams and goals, these top 25 things, you've circled your top 5. He said, what are you going to do about the other 20? If you're focusing on these top 5, what are you going to do about the other 20? Steve said, well, my top 5 are my priority, but intermittently, I'm going to work on the other 20 as I have time. Warren Buffett said, nope, you've got it wrong. He said those other 20 just became your avoid at all cost list. In other words, do not even think about the other 20. Stay focused on the top 5. And you know, it's amazing. The 2 most important qualities of success are focus and concentration. You got to stay focused on those top 5 things. Don't even think about the other things that are trying to grab your attention, or you'll be so distracted, you know, like you've heard the illustration of the lion tamer when he goes into the cage with the lion. He says he always carries a 4-legged stool. And the reason why is because that lion tries to focus on all 4 legs at the same time. And trying to focus on 4 things at the same time, they said a certain paralysis overwhelms him and he becomes tame, weak, and disabled. Why? Because his attention is fragmented. It's all over the place. Well, it's the same with us. When you're focused on 25 different things, your attention is fragmented, paralysis overwhelms you, you become tame, weak, and disabled. So stay focused on the top 5. And his final point, he said, know your avoid at all costs list and stick to it. You got to stick to it. Somebody once said, you can't be a superstar if you focus on everything. And what I mean by that is, let's say you set a goal this year that you're going to be debt-free of $12,000. But then you also said, I'm going on the family vacation, $5,000. I'm also going to get my new car, $24,000. If you're focused on all those financial goals in the same year, you're probably going to miss all of them. Pick one, which I would recommend, get debt-free and stick with it. And finally, let me close out with a quote from Les Brown. I love this. He says, find out what it is you want and go after it as if your life depends on it. Why? Because it does. So I want to encourage you with Warren Buffett's 5-step process. Apply that to your own life and watch your dreams unfold. Also, if you're enjoying these podcasts, I want to encourage you to subscribe to this channel. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I love to keep you encouraged, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching.